The home of the common Joe and the common Sally in the know, even more so than all those media talking heads. Well, how's it going out there today again, boys and girls in sporting land? I'm JPC, and this is the OCF. That's right, the outlaw of college football is what we call this show. And today, class, we're going to talk about the AD, Gene Smith from Ohio State, who had some subtle jabs, in my opinion, towards the rest of his conference brethren in a way. He may have not meant it that way, but it sure come across like that just a little bit. So, let's delve right into it. I was reading the article today. I saw it today on Google Sports. And basically, he said that the addition of UCLA and USC was something that they approved of, that that's something they really need. He said, in his own words, that Ohio State has been carrying the weight of the Big Ten for quite some time. Now, that is probably, for the most part, true this century. But here recently, Michigan beat Ohio State and went to the playoffs. So, it's not as much as he sort of made it out to be, in my opinion. But let's look at this. He's saying that this is a huge benefit for Ohio State and that they won't have to carry as much weight. Well, to me, if you want to be the premier program in your conference or the premier program in the nation, then you won't carry that weight, Gene. You want that weight. You want that challenge. You want that mantle as the top program in your conference. And you don't want anybody carrying the extra weight, because if they're carrying the extra weight, then that normally means they're carrying that extra hardware and those extra trophies as well. So, in my opinion, I think you might want to walk those statements back just a little bit. But, like I said, in a way, he's sort of right. I'll be honest with you. Ohio State has been carrying the Big Ten for quite some time. Michigan just finally made the playoffs and got into a national championship scenario for the first time, I think, since 1997 was the last time they were contending for a national championship. So going forward, I talked about this yesterday. They're saying that possibly these are the only two teams they're going to add from the Pac-12, which to me doesn't make a lot of sense considering the travel and the logistics that you're going to have to put up with. And I've also seen some Big Ten fans on my channel saying that they really didn't want USC and UCLA, and that they really don't add anything to the conference. One of them even said that it was just a paper mill out at USC, basically referring to them as shady in an academic sort of way. So some of these Big Ten people did not want this to take place. And like I said, my question is, going forward, you're going to have to add at least, to me, 2 more Western teams to make the logistics and the travel fair for USC and UCLA. My opinion, they should add Oregon and Washington, but I've been hearing that USC is sort of intertwined with Stanford in some kind of administrative, academic, financial endowment kind of way. I'm not sure the terminology for it. But also Cal is in the same system as UCLA. UCLA, as you know, stands for the University of California at Los Angeles. And then, of course, you got California at Berkeley. So I think 2 of those teams, of the 4 I just mentioned, need to be added at least by 2025, in my opinion, for this to be fair logistically and travel wise for those two teams. As you know, West Virginia, for example, has been dealing with that situation with the Big 12 for quite some time, but not as epically as USC and UCLA would be doing. I also think that more than likely they'll probably end up actually grabbing 6 of these teams from the western side of the United States. Now, whether those remain to be Pac-12 schools remains to be seen. I mean, the Big 12 still ain't out of the woods yet. I mean, we could see them go after Kansas, who would be a great addition as far as upping their basketball portfolio as a blue blood. They could also add Iowa State, who Iowa is probably really pushing hard for because they want to keep them relevant within their state. I never have understood that because, you know, Alabama and Auburn hate each other so much that we actually wish the other one would lose every single game we play. And it would not hurt my feelings if they kicked Auburn out of the SEC. But if they do add 6 more teams, and they're all from the Pac-12, in my opinion, it would have to be Oregon, Washington, Stanford, and Cal, and then, well, that would be a total of 6. If you add 4 more teams, if you add Washington, Oregon, Stanford, and Cal, along with USC and UCLA, that'll be 6 teams that you could add, and it would be a nice round number of 20, in my opinion. And I think that's what they need to do. Now, the Stanford-Cal situation, if they're not really tied to them in such a way, because, you know, they claimed that about Oklahoma State with Oklahoma, and it ended up not being true. It was just some kind of handshake agreement. If that's not the case, then I think they would more than likely go after possibly Arizona State, maybe even Colorado at that point, to get a spread out type of market. That way they ain't got all the markets in California on the western side. But it's just a big old mess. But Ohio State says they're glad to see them coming because now they don't have to pull all the weight. Y'all tell me what y'all think about that statement from Gene, whether he meant it in the way that I'm sort of alluding to, or maybe it was just an innocent slip of the tongue and maybe taken a little bit out of context. And with that, I'm going to get off of here. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel. And if you don't mind, if you look up underneath here, right next to the like and share and download option, you have the little heart with the thanks right there next to it. Click on that. Drop me a few dollars in the coffers. Help me get off the YouTube teat. And with that, KMCA and class is now dismissed.